Hi, this is Starkie Sowers, Director of Education for Clark's Nutrition and Natural Foods Market. Welcome again to another Plus Program training series. Today's subject, male health, specifically the prostate. So first of all, what is the prostate? The prostate is a combination of two things. Number one, it's a sexual gland as well as a urinary tract gland in addition to just being a sexual gland. A lot of times we have a tendency to forget that. It does a dual function. So it's kind of interesting when we look at it. Where is it located? It's right below the bladder, and the urethra actually passes through it. So what's interesting with the prostate, when it's working well, you're really happy. When it's not working well, things might be a little bit dysfunctional. All right, so let's look at a couple of things. Number one of the number one problems that happens with the prostate is what we call BPH, or benign prostatic hyperplasia. So benign means, of course, it's non-cancerous. Prostatic means, of course, prostate. And hyperplasia means like growth or enlargement. So the complexity that happens with BPH is it actually grows and it kind of squeezes the urethra. So what that does is it prevents the body from being able to eliminate fully all of the urine that would be in the bladder. So some of the symptoms that it causes are a couple different things. Number one, it causes frequent urination, hard to urinate issues, and maybe frequent night urination seems to be one of the number one problems that we run into with the production of BPH or the increase of BPH. So what are some of the causative factors that causes BPH? Well, first of all, you always look at it, there's some genetic susceptibility like anything else. At the same time, we definitely look at it, it's definitely in diet and lifestyle intervention. What we do know is this. Number one, when we look at BPH, there's a couple factors we can actually improve or prevent the production of BPH. Number one is exercise. So when we look at exercise, once again, if you watch the first part of this series, we talked about the waist-hip ratio and the fat that accumulates around the waist. We know when the waist-hip ratio is less than 0.9 or below, then the body's ability or the body's resistance to building up BPH actually increases. So what does that mean? It means this. It means if your waist-hip ratio is tight or your waist is smaller than your hips, your propensity to get BPH actually decreases dramatically. So that abdominal fat really becomes a real critical issue. All right, so that's number one on the list. Number two, when we look at the component of exercise also increases what we call circulation. It kind of helps to eliminate just like what we call like maybe an inflammation state that is in the prostate. All right, so then let's look at diet. We know a couple of things. Number one, a high-fat diet as well as a diet that has a lot of red meat definitely increases your susceptibility for BPH as well. So a couple factors. We want to exercise. We want to watch the types of foods that we're eating. A little note in here as well as too much alcohol can definitely create a problem. All right, so the other thing we know is this, fruits and vegetables. If you're not eating adequate amounts of fruits and vegetables, that's going to increase your susceptibility as well too. So how much fruits and vegetables would one eat a day? It's real simple. What I would do is try to get 3 to 5 fistfuls of fruits and vegetables at a minimal. A maximum would be maybe up to 11. So the minimal I'd suggest would be 5. Well, that's simple. Couple apples, there's 2. Couple of handfuls of salad, there's 4. Next thing you know, we're at 5 or 6. So it's really easy to get to that point to eat 3 to 5 servings of fruits and vegetables. The other thing that we know is this, when it comes to fatty acids, we want good fatty acids. Omega-3 fatty acids definitely reduce the susceptibility as well too. So finally, what we want to do is we want to look at a couple different nutrients. We look at zinc. One of the things that happens with BPH is the buildup of what we call DHT testosterone. It's the bad testosterone. So the body converts testosterone into DHT, and DHT is like 10 times more powerful than testosterone. The only thing that's very unique about DHT is it has a tendency to concentrate in the prostate area as well in the scalp area. So when it comes to male pattern baldness and BPH, this DHT is the bad guy. What we do know is this. If there's adequate amounts of zinc and also omega-3 fatty acids, the body seems to reduce those levels and metabolize those testosterones much more efficiently. There's a couple other nutrients that throughout the years have actually proven very effective to be helpful in not only the prevention of BPH or maybe in the treatment. Number one is saw palmetto. It's literally had a track record since the early 1990s on helping to reduce BPH. Next on the list is actually a product called Sernilton, which is Swedish bee pollen or Swedish pollen. We know that this particular Swedish pollen actually with clinical studies actually shown to maybe reduce that. So if you're looking for products that might be helpful, you definitely want to look for maybe some saw palmetto and also the Sernilton or the Swedish pollen. And then of course, zinc, as we were saying, is very helpful in this particular situation as well. So when you think of foods, you also might want to think of good types of foods that are helpful, such as pumpkin seeds. Pumpkin seeds have natural zinc, and they also have a great protective factor on the prostate as well. All right, so that kind of wraps up the BPH section. So the last thing we're going to talk about a little bit, we're going to talk about prostate cancer. Here's what we know. Anybody that's 55 plus, your chances greatly increase, especially for men 65 and over. They suggest that there might be 8 out of 10 people that actually get prostate cancer. So you definitely want to keep an eye on this. It's something that you want to be in tune with your doctor, let them do the regular checkups and all those little things that make a difference in that particular category. The other thing that we do know is red meat consumption, as well as high-fat diets, also are linked to this problem as well. The other thing is there's a genetic susceptibility. If you've had like a parent or a brother or somebody that have had problems with prostate cancer, that kind of increases your susceptibility to it. And ironically speaking, if your mom had breast cancer, this also increases your risk as well too. So a couple factors that we can do to prevent it. Number one, making sure that there's adequate amounts of different types of nutrients, zinc as well as selenium, in the combination of a multivitamin. I'm very specific about that because there was some negative information about that a while ago. Along with vitamin E, seems to reduce the susceptibility, and the nutrient or phytonutrient called lycopene, which is the red substance that you find in tomatoes, have actually got a great protective factor for prevention of prostate cancers along with vitamin D. So that kind of wraps up this series of male health, and that's the final information on prostate. This is Starkie Sowers, Director of Education for Clark's Nutrition and Natural Foods Market, reminding you to live better, we can help.